The last time we saw Amen Thompson on the floor was May the 4th, in a Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors. And despite the Rockets falling short on their home floor, I think this was easily one of Thompson's best individual performances. Obviously the stakes were high, it being a Game 7, but this was the first time the Rockets offense actually ran better with Amen at the point. And this was pretty new because so far in his first 2 years, Thompson had been doing a vast majority of his work cutting off the ball or being a superhuman downhill scorer. So again, him being the primary guy initiating the offense and creating advantages for his teammates was something we've only seen in really small portions. But going into this season, Amen is going to for sure have a lot more responsibility with Fred VanVleet being out. So in this video, I want to specifically look at Amen's scoring and on-ball creation. Can his talent alone take the Rockets' offense to new heights? Or will his lack of outside shooting and inexperience handicap how reliable he can be as the lead guard? Now obviously with the ball in his hands, Amen easily does his best work attacking the basket. Off the bounce, Thompson is an absolute blur. If the defense gives him any sort of space off the dribble, there's just too much speed, lift, and length to deal with. Look how much space the Warriors give him off the screen. And with all this daylight, Amen can just parachute up and find the scoring window from over the top. And that speed allows him to capitalize on quick angles from the perimeter. Look how Zion here is initially squared up with the ball, but Thompson from this spot only needs 2 dribbles. First is going to be a push cross, second is going to be a quick pound dribble, to then quickly lift up off that ball side foot. And because Thompson is so physically gifted, there's times where he can just throw himself in the air and find a finishing window. He's going to set this drive up by just exploding hard to his right, to then hit this simple push cross back to his left. But then look how he's going to pick up as the weak side big rotates across. About 99% of players from here will be totally screwed. But Thompson from this spot can somehow float past this defender and find this window to hit this following bank shot. When playing downhill, Amen is also much more than just a snappy athlete. In the paint, he also has really good physicality and control. In the lane, he's always looking to seek out contact. And he has the stability to absorb bumps, find his feet, to then shoot up and play above the rim. And that control in the paint also opens up countless of different footwork options. First, he can cover a ridiculous amount of ground with these pickups and euros. Plus, he has some different timing and angles that he can use to throw the defense off. This move here is tough, where Thompson's going to pound the ball, to then pick up and shift his way to his left foot. And from here, he can use 2 more steps to extend to the rim. Around the basket, Amen is also pretty good at playing off 2 feet. He can throw the defense off with different shot fakes and pivots, and it only takes 1 mistake for him to capitalize. Now all this stuff for Thompson isn't really new. We all know that athletically he checks literally every box. But at the same time, I also think people are really overlooking Amen's actual skill with the ball. And assuming he's going to be playing with the ball much more this upcoming season, these skills for him and the Rockets are going to be vital. First, off the bounce, Thompson is very good at using his handle to set up ball screens. And if he can effectively run his man into the pick, it's going to be a nightmare for the backline defense. Look how he's first going to attack across to his right, to then wrap the ball behind, running his man into the screen. And as he turns the corner, he feels Bam sliding across to cut off his angle. So Amen in response is going to snap this crossover back to his right. And when he gets Bam out of position, it's pretty much over. And because Amen is so quick off the dribble, he doesn't have to run his man into the screen. All he needs is just some daylight off the bounce. And he can use all that space to charge up and overwhelm the defense in the paint.
Far with 7 seconds left in the opening quarter, Thompson got fouled.
Off the bounce, Amen is also developing pretty good pace outside of the paint, where he's comfortable changing his speed and level to pull the defense out of their stance, setting up different attacking angles. Look how he's first going to pound the ball, to then drift back out to the 3. But when he feels Kuzma floating out to meet him, Amen's going to load up off that back foot, to then reinitiate his attack. I also love this move here, where he first looks to lower his shoulder and attack hard to his right, but when Cray rotates down and gap, look how Thompson is going to briefly pause and lift up his level, which moves Steph off his spot, and just like that, he's back to knifing towards the basket and exploding up and through contact. So right now, Amen is already a top tier off the dribble slasher in the NBA. He's got the speed, lift, physicality, and control in the paint. Plus, on the perimeter, he has a really good feel of angles and setting up different drives. Now, the elephant in the room with Thompson's scoring has always been his outside shooting. And straight up, his shooting numbers last year from 3 and the mid-range were not good. But I actually think Amen has the potential to be a pretty good short mid-range scorer. Last year, he shot over 38% on all his jumpers from 17 feet and under. Obviously, that number isn't very good, but at the same time, it's not terrible too. I think if Thompson can bring that number up to the mid-40s, we're having a totally different conversation. And when looking at Thompson's off-season workouts, it's pretty clear that his in-between scoring is a big point of emphasis. Last year, Thompson was able to generate these in-between looks pretty much at will. Out of pick and roll, because the drop big was so worried about that downhill threat, Amen pretty much always had plenty of space to work with. And he was pretty good at both using his lift to elevate from over the top, or use that speed to attack uphill or across, finding those pockets to elevate. And overall, I do think Thompson has a good foundation into his jumper. He brings it up in one smooth motion, plus his hand placement on the ball is solid. I think the biggest thing that holds him back mechanically is the timing he has from his lower body into his shot, which becomes more apparent the further he gets from the basket. Notice how he gets full extension from his knees and hips while the ball is still in his hands, and this forces him to generate most of his power from his upper body, making it difficult for him to be accurate. But even with those deficiencies from range, I still think Amen could be a really good in-between scorer from 15 feet and under. For the most part, he has good lift and flow on these short jumpers, and because of that downhill scoring, he pretty much always has plenty of space to work with.
Thompson over Moody.
In the same vein, I would also like to see Thompson use his floater more. There's times where I think he depends too much on his freakish bounce and recklessly throws himself into traffic, which, like we've gone over, can work for him at times, but I do think he needs to get better at reading the floor and making the game easier for himself. And because Thompson has really good control while attacking downhill, these shots for him are pretty much always going to be available. He can use that rim pressure to push the defense back and rise up, or use those strides and footwork to gather and set up different angles on the floor. And again, Thompson has really good deceleration in the paint. Watch him here blast off the screen to his right, to then slow down and stride across with this right-left Euro step. So going forward, if Thompson can develop that floater game more and become more consistent on short jumpers from 15 feet and under, I don't see any reason why he can't be a 20+ scorer on a night-to-night basis. Last year, he averaged over 14 points per game by primarily cutting and getting out in transition. Considering all the damage Thompson already does off the ball, with his usage this year most likely going up, I think people are underestimating just how much of a scoring punch Amen is going to bring. Now again, with VanVleet being out, Amen is also going to have a lot of responsibility as a passer, and that rim pressure is enough by itself to collapse the defense, creating these routine spray out threes. And with guys like KD, Jabari Smith, and DFS on the court, Houston is going to have multiple guys who can both shoot and put the ball down to attack rotations. And Thompson's ability to pull 3 or 4 defenders down towards the paint is going to create countless of advantages for Houston. With the ball, I also think Amen does great passing work out of pick and roll. First, he's very good at pulling the drop big across and finding these windows to deliver dump-off passes. We'll see him hit that same hezzy move against Nembhard and Gap, to then pick up and throw himself in the air, pulling Turner out of position. And again, I really think the presence of Jabari Smith and Kevin Durant on the floor will feed into Amen's playstyle, because with them, the defense is going to have to pick their poison. If they slide too deep in gap, they're then giving up wide open threes. But then if they commit too far out towards the perimeter, Thompson then has wide open driving gaps. I'm also looking forward to seeing the two-man game with Amen and KD. Besides Jabari Smith, the Rockets haven't really had a real pick and pop threat, and I think Durant setting ball screens for Amen will be a real problem. Imagine you have Durant coming up to set the screen at the slot, and when 2 players commit to the ball, that's an automatic wide open 3. So with the ball in his hands, I think Thompson is both unselfish and has a pretty good basketball feel. But at the same time, I do think there's multiple things holding him back. First, out of pick and roll, I don't think Thompson maps the court super well. He will occasionally hit a skip pass, but he also plays with tunnel vision, being super honed in on scoring and not reading the defense 1 or 2 passes away. We'll see him here isolating against Buddy Hield. And look how he literally pulls 4 defenders down towards the basket. But once Thompson commits to his move, there's pretty much nothing stopping him. And while Thompson does have the ability to scan the whole floor, these reads for him are few and far between.
Close Rockets game.
Look how he pulls the entire Lakers defense across the paint, leaving the weak side of the floor wide open. But he misses Şengün cutting along the baseline. And when he does make these cross-court reads, his passes aren't always super accurate. I initially like this read here, where Amen turns the corner off the screen to his right, and Reed Shepherd on the left slot is filling up. But this one-hand delivery from Thompson is off the mark. Out of pick and roll, I also think Thompson needs to get better at delivering pocket passes. There's many times where he turns the corner, gets the defense on his hip, and he pulls a draw big out of position, but he still doesn't look to deliver these passes. And dimes like these are a must for any ball handler working out of any two-man game. And then of course, Amen's lack of outside shooting does handicap his ability to consistently create advantages out of pick and roll. There's many times where the defense can get away with sitting in the deep drop and live with Amen or Şengün taking long twos. Look how Miles Turner is parked on the block while the screen is being set out 30 feet from the basket. From this spot, he can just wait for Amen as he charges towards the basket. And this turns into another short pass to Şengün, who now has to create from scratch. And then because Amen doesn't read the second side of the floor very well, the defense can also send heavy help from the weak side, which again funnels Houston into a more inefficient long twos. The Pelicans are going to ice this ball screen and send it towards the baseline, but look how Zion on the weak side is going to rotate down towards the paint. From this spot, Z has to both cover Adams' flashing and the skip pass, but those aren't reads that Amen can consistently make yet. So as a passer, I do think Thompson has a lot of room for improvement. He does create breakdowns by just his rim pressure alone, but at the same time, there's lots of stuff missing. His lack of outside shooting prevents him from bending the defense. He doesn't consistently read coverages 2 passes away, and overall, I still think Thompson has that score-first mentality, as opposed to being a traditional point guard. Going into this year, I do think Amen will give the Rockets a legit scoring and creation punch, but I don't think he has the build or feel to quarterback the offense just yet. But if he can bring that elite wing defense while improving all parts of his game offensively, I still think the Rockets are going to be in the hunt for a championship. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments who the kids should break down next. The kids here.